Now, some of that money will go to hospitals, and a prominent portion of the funding bill will go to the Paycheck Protection Program. Paul Murphy reports there are some new provisions in the aid package aimed at helping smaller companies that applied for the Paycheck Protection money.
So this is our tap room.
Scott Wood is the owner and head brewer at Courtyard Brewery in the Lower Garden District. He applied for the government's Paycheck Protection Program soon after the SBA loan program went online earlier this month.
We didn't receive any information about our status until the PPP had already run out, and then we received a denial letter yesterday.
Wood is optimistic his 10-employee business will get a PPP loan now that Congress has approved a second round of funding. The program offers small companies a forgivable loan to pay expenses for the next 2 months if they keep their employees on the payroll. Wood is frustrated that his business missed out on the money while some larger, more profitable companies feasted on the first round of loans.
It was frustrating to see these large sums, 10 million, 20 million getting doled out. And I understand they have a lot of payroll, but at the same time, we were asking for around 50,000.
Steakhouse chain Ruth's Chris, which was founded in New Orleans, reportedly received $20 million. Shake Shack got $10 million. Both companies decided to give back the money. About $60 billion of the additional $310 billion in PPP funding is now specifically set aside for smaller lenders to give to smaller companies.
With the idea that that's going to be for businesses that were unable to access the funds the first time because they didn't have the relationships with the big banks.
GNO Inc. CEO Michael Hecht had this advice for small businesses like Courtyard Brewery, still hoping to take advantage of the loan program.
Find a bank that you have a good relationship with and get in line.
Anything that we can get from the government as far as help is vital.
There is now a fear the PPP will once again run out of money almost immediately. Passage of additional coronavirus relief is expected in the weeks ahead. Paul Murphy, Eyewitness News.
And that aid package also contains $100 billion demanded by Democrats for hospitals and a nationwide testing program.